Chapter 7. God first, family second, career third. Over the years, I have found that everything seems to work out if you have your life in the proper perspective. God first, family second, and career third. I truly believe the growth of Mary Kay Cosmetics has come about because the first thing we did was to take God as our partner. If we had not done that, I don't believe we would be where we are today. I believe He has blessed us because our motivation is right. He knows I want women to become the beautiful creatures He created and to use the wonderful God-given talents that lie within each of us. I found that when you just let go and place yourself in God's hands, everything in your life goes right. When you try to do everything alone and rely on yourself, you begin to make major errors. None of us at Mary Kay works alone. My son Richard is a brilliant administrator, an outstanding corporate planner, and is recognized as one of today's bright financial geniuses. Nevertheless, not even he can look at a computer printout or market survey and truly predict the future. Yet it often appears that he has done just that. I believe we have found success because God has led us all the way. I can't tell you how many times we've needed something only to have it miraculously appear at our door. Our experience with hexachlorophene is one small example. Several years ago, this was a highly regarded and widely used ingredient we included in the formula for our body lotion. We made the decision that hexachlorophene may have some shortcomings, and so we removed it from our line and destroyed approximately 19,000 bottles of lotion. Shortly after this action, the Food and Drug Administration outlawed the ingredient and ordered manufacturers to destroy all supplies containing hexachlorophene. Had we not made the proper decision when we did, we, like other manufacturers, could have incurred a loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Richard's reaction to this miraculous timing was, our scientists knew these things were going to happen, so they acted accordingly. But nobody can predict the future, and nobody knows what the FDA is going to do from one day to the next. There were undoubtedly some recent studies done that our scientists had read, but for whatever reason, we had removed that chemical by the time the edict was issued, and thus we avoided a costly problem. But a business consists of millions of small decisions, not just big ones. Often it's the little daily decisions, the ones you make hour by hour, that seem to mean the difference between success and failure. And I feel that God put His protective arm around us and guided us right up the path. Although I believe that God has been instrumental in the growth of our business, I'm careful to remember that we are a business and that I must avoid preaching to our people. After all, as a company with so many associates, we are represented by every faith and denomination. Because of our philosophy, God first, family second, and career third, we seem to attract spiritually strong people who agree that God and family should be preeminent in our lives. I never try to impose my personal religious beliefs on anyone. I do let it be known, however, that God is a very important part of my life. Employers need to understand that I'm also quite vocal regarding my belief in strong families. I stress that no matter how successful you are in your career, if you lose your family in the process of attaining that success, then you have failed. Money is not worth sacrificing your family. A career is a means to an end and a means by which you can provide comforts and security for your family. But what you accomplish in your career is not an end in itself. Unfortunately, some people become so consumed with their work that they lose sight of what's really important in life. When I first started supporting my family as a Stanley dealer, I only had room for 3 things: God, family, and career. I had no social life. Every waking hour was geared to my 3 children, my work, and my church. I didn't know what it was like to go to a movie or have dinner out with a friend. My entire day was planned around the children's schedule. I got up at 5 o'clock so that I could do my housework before they arose. Then I gave them a good breakfast and got them off to school. After they were gone, I left too for my first party. I'd have another party in the early afternoon, and then I would make certain to be home to greet my children when they came home from school. I gave them their dinner and got them ready for bed. Then at 7 o'clock, I would leave for my evening party. My housekeeper would have them asleep long before I got back. It worked out fine. I was able to have my cake and eat it too, because I was a working mother who still made time to be with her children. I was just sure to thank God for my high energy level. One of the things I was able to do for the children was to take the family to Galveston, Texas for summer vacations. While at the Gulf, we stayed in a beachfront room at the Galvez Hotel. I would take the children down to the beach each morning and stay as long as I could without getting sunburned. Then I would go upstairs to our room, sit in the window, and keep an eye on them. At lunch, I'd take them to get a hot dog or a sandwich, and after they had eaten, they would go back to the beach. I went back to my window. Because of my fair skin, the beach was not a place I would have selected for myself, but my vacation was watching the children enjoy themselves. Those 2 weeks in Galveston were the only time I didn't work. The rest of the year, my life was strictly God, family, and work, 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 work. Once I heard Dr. Joyce Brothers say that being a workaholic isn't all bad. It simply means that you're totally committed. I would like to think that she's right, because I certainly would have fallen into that category. It was necessary for me to work every night in order to make ends meet, but thanks to Richard, some of the neighbors didn't take too kindly to my late hours. By the time we had moved to Dallas, I was making a good living, and we had moved into a nice neighborhood. We had a 2-story brick house with a little front porch and a front lawn with a large tree. By that time, I also had a housekeeper who was supposed to tuck the children into bed after I left, but apparently she would tuck them in and go to her room. At any rate, Richard would wait until the house was quiet, go out into the small balcony adjoining his room, climb down the adjacent tree, and sit on the curb waiting for his mother to come home. He loves to tell this story. Mary Kay never could understand why the neighbors didn't like her. They would see me sitting on that curb and ask, "Where's your mother?" And I would answer, "She's at a party." He never seemed to mention that the party was a Stanley party and my work. Although I worked long, hard hours while the children were growing up, I arranged my schedule so that I was there when they needed me. I made myself available to help with their homework, and then they knew I would drop anything to discuss a serious problem. One of the nicest things about my flexible hours was that I could always be home to give my tender, loving care if one of the children was ill. My family was the only thing I ever let interfere with my work. Employers need to understand that children are parents' priorities. I've seen people with 9-to-5 jobs come to work when they had a very sick child at home. In my opinion, their employers would have been better off telling them to stay home and take care of their child. There's just no way parents can keep their minds on work when worried about their sick child. And you notice that I use the word parents. If you're a single parent, like I was, you must carry the full load. But if both parents are present, even after a friendly divorce, employers must let fathers and mothers share in these responsibilities. Your responsibilities also extend to other family members. My husband Mel was seriously ill with cancer for 7 weeks before he died. For the first 2 weeks after he discovered his illness, we really didn't know whether or not it was terminal. but I sent a message to my office that I would not be in until Mel was better. I knew they all understood how I feel about family coming before business, and for those 7 weeks, I did not once go into the office. My staff sent home my paperwork, and when Mel was sleeping, I would go to my desk and do whatever seemed urgent. Before any of this happened, I had been looking forward to giving a speech at the General Federation of Women's Clubs that was meeting in St. Louis, June 1980. The speech had been arranged a year in advance, and there would be several thousand women attending from all over the country. I was excited about having the chance to share a Mary Kay philosophy with so many women, but I would have had to leave Mel for 2 days, and I just couldn't do that. So Delene White, one of our national sales directors, went to St. Louis in my place and did an excellent job of representing our company. I'm aware that most companies expect their employees to put their jobs before all else in their lives. Yes, I know that a person can become so wrapped up in his or her work that the family is neglected. But I don't see how anyone could expect work to come before family in a time of real need. I'm told that it's unusual for a company to encourage such philosophy, but we've been doing it ever since our business began. As I've said, when you put God first, your family second, and your career third, everything seems to work. Out of that order, nothing much seems to work. When you get to the bottom line, it doesn't matter how much money you've made, how big your house is, or how many cars you own. For on that day, when God calls you to accept your relationship with Jesus Christ, nothing else matters. Each of us will come to that day, and we must ask ourselves whether or not our lives have been meaningful.